Well, we are continuing our January theme of getting grounded this month, and we're back in the basics of the science of mind. That's what all of our centers traditionally do in January, so we delve into what are the foundational principles and so forth of our teaching in connection with the science of mind. We're also studying Ernest Holmes' book, this thing called You, and we're weaving all of this around the idea of the four kingdoms of consciousness, or the four stages of awareness, depending on how you know those principles. And if you remember, those stages are life happens to me, life happens by me, life happens through me, and life happens as me. And remember, too, that these are not linear stages that we grow through and leave. They are the four stages that we're in and out of all the time, sometimes throughout the day. We can feel like a victim at some point. Why is life letting this happen to me? What is going on? Or we can be in Kingdom 2. I'm in charge and I am creating my life. We can move around in those. Today we're going to be discussing the principles in the chapter 16 of the Science of Mind, which is the principles of successful living. Science of Mind, of course, is written by our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes, and in it he shares principles that tell us about both Kingdom 2 and Kingdom 3 that we'll be talking about today. He also talks about how to stay out of or get out of Kingdom 1. Now, he doesn't use those words specifically because that language wasn't happening back in 1938 when he wrote it. But you can see when you read it the ideas and maybe how those were birthed out of some of these concepts of his, and that these are all universal truths that are being taught throughout the ages. So what is Kingdom 3? Kingdom 3, or Stage 3 of consciousness, is a belief that life happens through me. Life happens through me. We're moving out of the idea of making it happen to the idea of making it welcome. Do you feel the difference in the energy, the shift there? Making it welcome versus making it happen. It's a realization of our oneness in God, and that God lives, moves, and has its being in, through, and as the experiences of our lives. In, through, and as the experiences of our lives. Have you ever had, and most of us have at some point, the experience of feeling like you're in the zone? You were talking about in the flow, Kira. In the zone, in the flow, where something is being expressed through us greater than we've ever done before. Maybe it's in the arts, maybe it's in writing, maybe it's in a presentation someplace, maybe it's through athletics, but it just feels like everything's working and the end result is something more than you've ever done before. That is in the zone. That is the expansion of our consciousness coming through us. And in this idea of Stage 3 awareness is spirit expressing more, that ever-evolving upward spiral that we talk about. It's suggested that in Kingdom 3 we begin to recognize that we are an instrument through which spirit expresses. And that can be a heady realization, can it? If we're moving from a place of the guy in the sky, an external God, and we are beginning to believe that God lives within us, that God's inside of us, we still may have some of that external stuff going on. It's built into our psyche, really, that idea that God is external to ourselves. So we're beginning to move God inside of us. And so this idea that it's going to now express through me can be a big realization for us. But it's a universal idea. Have you ever heard of St. Francis? He has that beautiful prayer, Lord, make me an instrument of your peace, an instrument of your peace. And of course, the words of Rumi the poet, where he said, I am your flute, drunk on your melodies. I am your flute, drunk on your melodies. Always talking about the beloved, of course. So moving into the experience of life from Kingdom 3 requires surrender. That was one of our practices last week, remember? We were going to begin practicing letting go of that control of outer circumstances and surrendering to the greater wisdom within us, the practice of surrendering. If you recall, as Jesus the Nazarene said, "Who loses his life shall find it." Now, that was always one of those mystical sayings that didn't always make a lot of sense. What does it mean? Lose your life and find it. And Ernest, of course, interprets that for us. He tells us that this means we must let go of the lesser in order to experience the greater. We must let go of the lesser to experience the greater. Losing the current life that doesn't serve us to allow the life that we seek to express through us. I release and let go that we sing here on Sundays means I release and let go. I surrender my unforgiveness. I surrender my anger. I let go of my unforgiveness, my judgment, anything that is resisting and blocking that flow of spirit through me. That's what we're surrendering. That's what we're giving up. We're surrendering what is that isn't working for us, that isn't producing the results that we say that we want, that we wrote down the first of the month with our intention cards. We're surrendering all those things that don't support that to make way for spirit to move through us in the manifestation or creation of that. We're making it welcome. We're each channels of life through which spirit moves. Some of us have rusty pipes that can't move through. There's some resistance in there, right? There's some resistance in there that's blocking that flow. And it's these ideas that we have and these beliefs that we have about, I will do it. I call it my inner 2-year-old. I'll do it, stomping my foot. We've all seen the little kids when they begin to get that independence, right? We grow into that and we become more of that, and then we're taught in society that you need to be self-sufficient, self-sustaining, do it all on your own. And so we forget how to surrender to our higher self, our higher wisdom, this God within us. That which has created all, holds the universe in its orbits. It's smart enough to know how to manage our lives for us, right? To come through us, to guide us, to lead us. Holmes asks us in The Science of Mind, would you like to experience greater possibilities and happier conditions? I think I can speak for all of us and say yes. Even if our lives are amazing right now, just expanding and doing wonderful things, there's always room for more, right? Would you like more possibilities? Would you like more happiness and joy? Sure. There's an old saying in real estate, the best time to sell a house is when you've just sold one, because your energy is high and your success is attracting more success to you, right? Makes sense, law of attraction at work. And the same is true here, that we're not going to say, oh no, I don't want any more happiness. I don't want any more possibilities. I can't take any more. Well, we might say that if we're feeling a little overwhelmed, right? But we know that science of mind and metaphysical principles are not a get-rich-quick scheme, although sometimes they've been marketed that way. They have been presented and marketed that way, but that's not what it's about. It's about this inner transformation within us to remember who we are, to remember who we are. In the Science of Mind and most metaphysical teachings and New Thought teachings, we teach what's called affirmative prayer. You've heard of affirmative prayer. We call it spiritual mind treatment. It's all the same thing, but it's a scientific process through which we move ourselves into the realization that the good that we seek is ours. It's a process that we move ourselves through. And Holmes says we do this by the absolute embodiment of what we seek, not by treating a condition, but by embodying what it is we seek to experience. We don't treat the headache. We don't treat the headache. We pray that health, peace, order are revealed in our body. Because when we treat the headache, what are we doing? We're affirming that there's a headache. When there's a headache, it means that's a symptom, isn't it? That there's something out of alignment in our bodies. So by praying and treating that the headache is gone and the headache is pain-free and the headache 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 and the headache, get it? Anybody else got a headache right now? Yeah, we don't treat the headache. We treat our wholeness revealed through us and as us. We turn from the condition. It doesn't mean spiritual bypass, which that's been interpreted that way also. Oh, those people, they just deny that anything's wrong. Well, we don't. Yeah, you got a headache. I'm really sorry you got a headache. Let's treat for your wholeness and know that it's revealed because that's who you are. That's who you are. We focus on what it is we want to experience. We're acknowledging our wholeness, our health, our peace, the order that is the underlying truth that is the reality of who and what we be. Sometimes, though, we might want to focus more on the drama of the headache than on the wholeness of who we be. Think about your conversations and how many words you use for telling someone how you're doing when you have a symptom in your body. Oh, this headache, it's been going on for weeks, and I just can't believe I have done this, and I've done this, and I've done that, and I've done that, and this is not working, and that's not working, and I've still got this headache, and blah, blah, blah. As opposed to explaining your wholeness when you feel good. How you doing? Fine. Truth? Or the dinner conversation around all the medications and what the doctor said, right? How many words do we use for that as opposed to how many words we use for our wholeness, our divinity, our connectedness, our oneness? I'm not making that wrong. I'm just suggesting that we might want to pay attention to the power in our words. Our words have power, don't they? Our words have power. So when we deny our good or we argue for our limitations, oh no, but let me tell you what the doctor said. When we argue for our limitations or we deny our good, we're denying the God source within us and its revelation through us. Now, does God have, does God have experiences through us that may not seem pleasant to us? Maybe. I'm not going to explore that much. That was just a download. Holmes tells us that treatment is not for the purpose of making things happen. It's to provide within ourselves an avenue through which they may happen. Sounds like Kingdom 3, doesn't it? So he was talking about Kingdom 3 in the Science of Mind text. Emerson said it really well also. Get our bloated nothingness out of the way. And that's that resistance, right? That's our playing small in the realm of life, as opposed to opening up to being that clear channel of spirit expressing through us, allowing that greatness to come through. Holmes tells us in this thing called You, which is, I think, some of his most fun writing, he says that we're trading the unreal for the real. That the unreal is all of the stuff we make up about life, and the real is what's the big R, reality, the truth of what's really happening. He says we should bury unhappiness, stop thinking of evil, and forget hell. It's like, okay, there you go. It says we can then begin to move our thoughts from negative to affirmative, from a place of limitation to a place of abundance. Lose your sense of being separated. That's easier said than done, isn't it? Because as we look around the room in the world of effects, I mean, there's multiple people in this room, multiple chairs, multiple tiles on the floor, and they're all separated from each other, right? All separated from each other. And we have this sense of separation. You know, we're taught as little kids, you and me, your nose and my nose, right? Your eyes and my eyes. We're taught separation. And yet, our true spiritual reality is oneness, is wholeness, is connectivity in that spiritual realm. So the most powerful, one of the most powerful technologies, in addition to the spiritual mind treatment that we have, is the meditation. And I know most of us meditate or work at meditation or try to meditate, and I'm going to suggest that it really is the means of transformation for us. It really is the way that we transform our mind from this idea of separation back into unity. It's the pathway to discovering our unity. It's a mental exercise, and it involves relaxation, focus, and awareness. That's the what. We always say, how do I meditate? You meditate by doing it. But what is meditation is the idea of transforming our minds and sitting with that intention of transforming our minds. We're not trying to turn off our thoughts. I think that's been a miscommunication in teaching of meditation, is stop your thinking. Our minds aren't designed to stop their thinking, are they? And that can be very frustrating when we sit down as an early meditator and begin to try to meditate, and we think, I'm doing it wrong because I've got monkey mind, I've got chatter, I still have thoughts going through my head, I must be doing it wrong, I have to quit. And that's not the case. The case is to just not get attached to them, not get hooked on them, not follow them off on some down a rabbit hole like, squirrel. I do that all the time. But to be able to catch it and bring it back and continue then to focus on the breath. It's a practice. Meditation is a practice. And the key to successful meditation is to just do it regularly, to keep doing it. And the more that you practice, the better that you will get at it. It's a powerful spiritual technology because it breaks down these mental barriers that we've created for separation in our psyche. It begins to break that down and allows us to understand and feel what it's like to be immersed in God. That sense of spaciousness. If you've ever connected in that depth in your meditation, you know what I'm talking about, where you go deeper and there's a spaciousness that occurs there. There's a knowingness that begins to occur there. And it's a way to help us to move from the idea of theory into practice. Science of Mind in particular is a heady, sort of intellectualized teaching, isn't it? And most of us, when we get in it, we love to study and read the books and learn about it. But the key is not holding it here as much as allowing it to drop into the heart, to embody it, to live it. Holmes says one of the greatest difficulties in our teaching is that we are likely to indulge in too much theory and too little practice. I've got a cartoon that it demonstrates that for us. We've got a fair exam. Everybody takes the same exam. Climb that tree. Well, the goldfish and the elephant are going to have a problem with that, aren't they? So it's not a fair test. In theory, it's the same test for everybody, right? But in practice, it doesn't work. So it's one thing to understand the teaching intellectually and another to embody and live in it. And Kingdom 3 is this idea of where we begin to truly embody the teaching of the idea of Spirit is in, through, and as us is where we're moving to. So the kingdoms of consciousness that we've been talking about, victim, manifester, and channel. Victim, manifester, and channel. Have you noticed that as we've moved through these, that there's a release in between? In the victim, we had to release the idea, in Kingdom 1, we had to release the idea of being a victim, of thoughts of victimhood, that life is done to me and I have no choice. We had to release those ideas. And then in Kingdom 2, we had to release control. We had to release control of the outer. And now here we are at Kingdom 3 in the allowing, the welcoming, making it welcome. Losing our life to find it. Reverend Dr. Michael Beckwith says that all spiritual growth is about letting go. All spiritual growth is about letting go. Not getting, but releasing. So none of these kingdoms are a bad place to be. We all exist in all four of them. Actually, at some point or the other, we move around in them, as I said, all day long. But the key is to understand when we're in each one of them, how we're reacting in that, if it's serving our higher life purpose, our soul's journey, or not, and then using our free will and choice to move, to shift. When we recognize we're being a victim, oh, okay, maybe I need to move to Kingdom 2, or maybe I need to jump to Kingdom 3. But recognizing that within ourselves and within our lives can be a transformational and empowering process for us. I can release this. What can I release so that I will feel better, right? So that I will feel better. So let's look at some of our practicing the principles this week. I've got 3 for us this week. Number 1 is notice when you are or have been in the zone. Noticing that feeling. And what was happening? How did you feel? How did you see Spirit revealed through you during that time? So just paying attention and noticing when you feel like you're really in the zone. And then on the other side of that, what emerged through you? How did you expand? How did your consciousness expand? If you remember, I'm sure you do, we've talked about it several times about lottery winners and how so many of them end up right back where they were in their comfort zone of income prior to their winnings because they had not grown and expanded their consciousness to be a receptive place for that additional abundance. And that's really what we are talking about in this science of mind and in the Kingdom 3 and so forth, is growing and expanding our consciousness to make welcome that which it is that we are creating and calling forth from Kingdom 2. When we look at the desire, when we allow that intuitive desire of Spirit to bubble up in us, and then to grow our conscious awareness through our spiritual practices to be ready to receive it, to make it welcome in our consciousness. Number 2, start your day with the thought, I am an instrument of Spirit. I am an instrument of Spirit. What song shall be played through me today? What song shall be played through me today? Kindness, compassion, peace, love, little jazz, little rock and roll. What's going to be played through me today? And then notice how Spirit unfolds through your life as the music of your life. And then number 3, I'm going to challenge you to meditate every single day this week. Whether it's 5 minutes or 5 hours, I'm going to challenge you to meditate every single day this week. And spend some time in the silence. But before you do, set an intention. An intention to have an experience of your oneness in God. I'm going to meditate, set a timer. My intention is to have an experience of God and be open to receive. This time of meditation is for your soul's evolution into its next consciousness. It's said that when we are in meditation, we get glimpses to the unfoldment of our soul and the what's next of us. It's where the divine ideas come from. It's where Spirit is revealed through us. We're seeing such progress in life of technology and medicine and everything that's coming through human beings. Imagine opening to that to allow even more of that to express through us. So I invite you to try these 3 practices this week and see what emerges in your life. See what emerges in your life. I want to close us this morning with that beautiful prayer of St. Francis. And after I read this, I'm going to move right into our affirmative prayer. So feel free to close your eyes if you'd like for this. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me bring love. Where there is offense, let me bring pardon. Where there is discord, let me bring union. Where there is error, let me bring truth. Where there is doubt, let me bring faith. Where there is despair, let me bring hope. Where there is darkness, let me bring your light. Where there is sadness, let me bring joy. O Spirit, let me not seek as much to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that one receives. It is in self-forgetting that one finds. It is in pardoning that one is pardoned. And it is in dying that one is raised to eternal life. And so we take these beautiful words into our affirmative prayer this morning. As we recognize that one power and presence that is God, it is the one life. It is harmony and joy and love and compassion and peace. It is all that is, has been, ever shall be. It is beyond a limit. If we imagine the universe, we just keep imagining beyond and beyond and beyond. And we still never come to the limit of spirit. From the smallest to the largest, all of it is here now present. Enthroned as me as an expression of it, enthroned as this room, enthroned as each one of us here today. For we are all united in this one, in this harmony of life. This power and this presence of the universe is enthroned as us, expressing as us. And so knowing this, I speak my word for and about each one of us this morning, knowing, claiming, and accepting the truth of who we are, that we are these divine lights of spirit, here in this time-space reality, right here, right now in Scottsdale, Arizona, not through some mistake or fate, but through the creative process of spirit unfolding as us, through us, as life itself, individualized and unique for greater expression of itself as us, as only we can express it. And I know that whatever resistance or blockages we may have to that flow of spirit, we allow to be dissolved into the native nothingness from where they came, and allowing ourselves to be those open channels, open conduits of spirit expressing in life, as us. And I know for any of us that have anything on our hearts this day, that as we lift that into the consciousness of this prayer, that it is healed, revealed, whatever is necessary. There is flow, there is ease, whatever is necessary. We make welcome that which we seek. And so it is with a grateful heart, filled with joy, filled with thanksgiving, that I release this into the action of law, the activity of mind, knowing that it is done, it is so, and we affirm together by saying, and so it is.